Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Level 2 recording for Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, the fourth installment of the second semester of 2018. It's July 11th. So one of the things that I was speaking about last week was non-duality and how flying rainbow lasagna is a topological, meaning surface study, example of non-duality, and how so much of our visual perception is based in duality, I versus I, contrast, light versus dark, and so many other things, and understanding that that's a biological basis for our expectation of duality, and also ego versus context, and how flying rainbow lasagna is a way of integrating these seemingly dualistic opposites into a totality, into a whole. But one of the things that I forgot to speak about was the idea of binary, and binary as it relates to, human technology, of what we're doing right now in terms of math and digital processing. So, and I'll draw this out for you. So in the binary system, go to the whiteboard here. We've got either, I get a better color. We've got the integer 0, and we've got the integer, or whole number, 1. And this 0 is the idea of non-being. It's off, the light is not on. And 1 is the idea of being, like it is there, it is on, the electrons are flowing in the wire. And so we have nothingness, or we have somethingness, and those are the only options. And this is the idea of only having, I'm trying to choose my words extremely carefully, and then you'll understand why. Only having this number, this limitation, this number of options. So if I ask you, class, and you are all incredibly intelligent people here in the advanced level of this presentation, how many integers are on the screen right now? What would you answer? You can answer in the chat, or you can just answer in your mind, but you know what the answer is. The answer is this many. You have two numbers. There's 1 over here, and there's 1 over here, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. This is how you get out of binary thinking. It's another way of transcending duality. Because before I drew that 2, let's just make a line so we've got like a separation of realities. Before I drew that 2, the only options we had was the option of nothingness and the option of somethingness, and that somethingness is the singularity. And I don't know if you can see me in my thumbnail, but I'm holding up the yellow sculpture that has at its convergence point the singularity. So that's like saying that's an extremely limited viewpoint of reality. We have nothingness and we have somethingness, but we don't have a multiplicity. We can only ever have one thing. Imagine if the only number you ever had was 1. It's like, how many apples do you want? 1. You only get 1. You can't have more than 1. It's like, that is very challenging. But if I ask you, because you are all smart people who can actually count, how many numbers are on the screen? You say, oh, there's 1, 2. There's 2 numbers. There's 2 numbers on the screen. So that is how you get out of binary thinking. It seems like the only options that are being offered to you are the option of having the counting something 0 numbers of times or 1 numbers of times. But the very system itself contains 2 options. And then once you realize, wait a minute, if I can add together these 2 numbers and I can get 2, then what happens if I add together, let me just clean up this a little bit. What if I add together these 2 numbers? Whoa, then I get this number. And then what if I add together these 2 numbers? Whoa, then I get this number. All of a sudden, all of these interesting new patterns emerge when you recognize that you have superseded the implied limitations of the system within which you find yourself. This is what I'm talking about. These are mental ways of getting out of the cage, of superseding the limitations that we've been exposed to biologically and in terms of our cultural programming. So that duality also has to do with that human-shaped anthropomorphic lens, the cultural filter that I was talking about in level 1. And I can go to the picture too in case you're a person that doesn't watch both presentations of the same day. Just doing my posture check there. Here we go, the lens, the lens. Did it do it? It didn't do it. Okay, let me see if I can find it properly. Here we go. Sometimes technology doesn't work. Sometimes it does. This lens, and let me choose the right color, that is in front of, hey, come on, draw a picture for me. Draw the picture. Draw the picture. Draw. It's not drawing. Why is it not actually drawing? There we go. It should work. Nope, I'm not actually getting a drawing thing. But anyway, that's so annoying. Can I just stop this? Sorry, guys. I'm not trying, if I'm driving you crazy, I'm not trying to drive you crazy, but I'm sure that I am. Let's see if this will work now. And draw a picture. No, it's still not letting me actually draw something. But anyway, there's a lens in front of the face there, and that is the cultural filter through which we are all perceiving. And I really want to make this thing work so that I can actually draw. Why is that not working for me? Okay. Let me try again, because this is actually part of what I want to talk about. Go to this. Still not annotating for me. Annotate, and then I should be able to draw. I should be able to draw this. Oh, miracles just happened. How wonderful. Okay, what I was trying to say is that you've got this big fat lens in front of your face, just like having eyeglasses or goggles, and that is the cultural filter of perception, that we understand things on the human level, and that these are some of the distortions, the expectation of duality. And the society will tell you, well, you know, you've only got a binary option. You've got 0 and you've got 1. But you now have the maneuver. Sorry, I have a bug in here. You have the ability to maneuver past the only limitations of 0 and 1. Salut, if you haven't seen my artwork, then perhaps I should move things aside a little bit in order to show you more images. And I can definitely do that too, bring up some more images for everyone. Why didn't I do that? Hold down. So wait, and let me see. How do I move things around? There you go. So this is a good picture that I did too. This one is an integration of both the abstract aspects of self and the anthropomorphic aspects of self. So if I get a color, you can actually see. Like you can see, there's a head in there, and you know there's shoulders over there, and there's hands down there. So that's what mostly humans identify with and say, hey, I recognize that. That's me. That's shaped like a human. But the truth is, this is also human. Where I'm scribbling over here, that is also human. This is what we look like when we look in the mirror higher dimensionally using our higher faculties. So this is, again, reflecting in level 2 what I was speaking about in level 1. That this is what, like if I show you this image over here, if I show you this, I say, I'm actually showing you a picture of a person and different aspects of your anatomy by looking at this. But it doesn't look like you've got a stick figure. It doesn't look like a face or a nose or a mouth or anything like that. But that is our higher dimensional aspect of self. And this is what we begin to look like, or this is what we look like when we begin to perceive on a higher dimensional, abstract level. So again, I need to drink some more water. Hold on a minute, but I'll bring you back to some images so that you can look at some fun stuff. I hope you can see both of these images here because they are both depictions of the same energetic anatomy. Just drinking some water. And there's also a bug floating in my water. Hold on a second. Get that extra protein. Okay. These are both images of energetic anatomy. So you can see that they're, I did this one first, this one that I'm scribbling on first. And then over many years, I refined my understanding and was able to do this one. And it represents the different layers of yourself that are moving at different rates through time. And the way that these chakras or spinning wheels of energy and nested vortices, the way that they nest together and the way that interacts with the physical anatomy. Okay, Joelle says, oh no, you're totally fine. Well, first Salu said that she didn't want to disturb the flow, but it's actually very good because sometimes I kind of take it for granted. Like Salu is relatively new to being on board, and so it's good. I forget that not everybody has seen all of these images. Sometimes it can just be good to show you pictures too. That's what, if you do the enrollment in the online classes, that's what I do in some of these recorded lessons. Just have a bunch of pictures set up, because all of the paintings that I do with the intention of them being informative, like diagrams that tell a story or share information about, you know, what I'm trying to share, you know, these higher dimensional concepts. So I'll show you some more pictures, but first I wanted to read this. Joelle says, the chakras you teach are so different than what we learn even in the healing arts schools. Yes. She says, I'm a body worker and I've never understood them like now. Aurora, thank you. You are very welcome. That is a big takeaway from this, that, you know, the chakras are often just represented as glowing balls of energy. And that's kind of like if you have, if you're kind of nearsighted and you can't really see a person's face and you're just kind of like, oh, like it's just like, you know, a circle like that, and they've got just kind of a head. But then when you get, you know, better glasses, then you're able to be like, oh, wait, there's actually eyes there, and the eyes actually have eyelashes on them, and the nose actually has nostrils, and there's actually details. It becomes possible to see the details. So I've been doing this level of perception for, you know, many years since I've been here as Aurora. It's about 17 years. And as I was saying in the Facebook, I do a live introduction before I hop on over here and do the webinar on the video here. When I first started seeing, I saw in with fewer details. I did not see what as clearly, and I didn't dissect what I saw as well, because it had to come first. I had to learn like how to move my hand, how to like calibrate my hand, how to, you know, it's hard, like the hand-eye coordination to be able to make a drawing, to be able to make a diagram. And then the first diagrams that I made, they were not very accurate. And I was also working with watercolor paints, and I couldn't really get the colors that I exactly wanted. So, and I didn't have measuring tools, like I didn't have templates and protractors and all of that. So it's just like anything that you want to do. If it's cooking, if it's like, okay, I want to make a pizza, but what if you don't really have, you know, a stand mixer, and if you don't really have a rolling pin, and you don't really have a cookie sheet, like, you know, you can kind of make it, but it's not really going to come out right. So it took me a long time, not only to cultivate my higher dimensional perception, but also to get the tools to be able to express it effectively. So yeah, I mean, it's why I developed my own line of paints to be able to do this. So also, like, I used to photograph my work so that there was no glare. Like, here's glare. You can see there's glare where I'm scribbling down there. But I used to photograph it and literally Photoshop all of that out so that no one could tell that it had glare on it. And then people thought that it was all just computer generated. So I had to be like, I'm going to, you know, intentionally have glare on the surface so you can see it's actually kind of a little bit bumpy. Like, there's actually a little bit of texture there. And some of these other pictures that I'll show you have lots and lots of texture. So wait, now you're looking behind the scenes. I'm going to show you my, whatever. Oh, wait. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pull up more images. So you're looking at my computer. I'm sure you're watching me scrolling through behind the scenes over here. Here, we'll take up this. There we go. So this is a painting that is called Vessel. This is a good one to look at too, because you can see that there are these individual star tetrahedra. Let's get a color you can see. If I do an outline here, like you can see, here's the outline of one of these star tetrahedra or Merkabah shapes. And the pen just stopped working. And there's a bug flying around here who's driving me crazy today. So there's one in there, but we've got many of them. There's another one down here, and oh, my pen's not working here. And then there are these guys here that are the double chakra shape. And so this painting is called Vessel, and it has basically many star tetrahedra all put together. And this is a living ship. It's alive, and it's made out of people like you and me who have cultivated their energy bodies and their levels of consciousness and accreted enough light. And accreting light means doing sun gazing and eating food that contains a lot of light and getting lots of momentum by having very little mental friction, so that all of these are whirling and swirling energy centers. This is a static image of something that is moving very fast. And that is how real experts do star travel. And I don't know if you can see, because it's tiny little details, but in the areas where it looks like there are straight lines, it's not actually straight lines. It's actually many bubbles clustered together. I'm going on a little bit of a journey here. I'm going to get more pictures. I haven't always shown you guys all of these, so let me go and show you some more. Let's show you. Hold on a second. I don't know why this thing is jumping. Make it stop. Make it stop. Okay, I don't know if I just made too much noise. I hope you can still hear me properly. Oh, so okay, open up this one because I showed you the other one. So this one is the precursor to all of that. This is the first one. This is just Merkabah Chakra 1, where we have one star tetrahedron. Hold on a sec. Sometimes this doesn't work properly, but sometimes it does. So here's one. Just like I drew before. It's not, pen not working, pen not working. There we go. 1, 2, boom, boom. Pen not working. Okay, sorry guys. Not trying to drive you crazy. Sometimes it doesn't work. Technology. I don't know why. But anyway, you can see the image in violet there, that there is roughly a star tetrahedron in there. Don't know why technology is not cooperating with me at the moment. And that image is half of what this one is that you were just admiring before. This one is Merkabah Chakra 2. Let's put them both up on the screen so you can kind of see and compare. So if I take 2 of this guy that I'm pointing to over here, if I take 2 of this guy and I put 1 at 90-degree angles, then that is what I get on this one over here, which is basically that little yellow sculpture that I'm always holding up, but with all of the embellishments. It's like, instead of just showing a simplified generalization of your anatomy, I'm showing you all of your anatomy. Yeah, seriously, Joelle is saying, hey, Sally, the terrestrial technosphere, Aurora needs some technology help. I seriously agree. Like, and you know what else? Whenever I do like a Facebook Live video, I'm always like, okay, I hope that I actually get my thing to work properly, that I won't be so suppressed by any algorithm. So I'm always like, okay, Sally, like, make sure that everyone gets this link, that it actually works properly, that I can log into Zoom. Oh, here's another good one. Okay, so this is a painting that I did for a Reiki healer that helped me out a lot when I lived in Northern California. And so I did this for her that she could hang in her practice. And so you can see this is another good example of, if I get the annotation working properly. In the center, there is, does it work? Yes, there is a human being with arms and legs and a face. And then there's also this extensive chakra system that is like the yellow sculpture that I hold up all the time. And then around all of that, there's this, that is, these dimensional dots that I've made that I would describe as pure abstraction. That even when we are getting into these levels of individuation, of having individual chakras, that is getting towards the anthropomorphic level, and that when we are in these levels where I have these big dots, that's like the realm of pure math. It's like the realm of numbers, is the realm of abstraction and uncollapsed waveforms and just pure possibility. And that's what we're doing with our physical cellular structure. We're relating to a realm that is abstract and is ruled by math and ruled by polygons and the way that things fit together with our physical structure. And that's just like saying, if I'm making music, I am making my physical sound waves conform to certain mathematical truths in order to create harmonics and things that sound pretty. So the way that you get to be alive is by following the music of the cosmos out here where I'm scribbling and beginning to create these energy centers or chakras in an organized manner that eventually allow you to have, where I'm scribbling now, a physical human embodied form. Let me show you some more pictures. Showing pictures is fun and easy, guys. I could do that all day. I have lots of pictures. Let me see if I can find the, here we go. There you go. So that's just the line drawing for the first one that I showed you. That is called Merkabah Chakra 1. Let's see if I don't know if I can erase properly. But anyway, yes. And sometimes it's easier to see what's going on without all the colors added to it. And let's get some more pictures. I know I make silly faces when I try to squint and see what's going on here. Hold on a second. Do I have the other one? It doesn't matter. I can't find it. Okay. This one's another good one. I've used this picture a lot, and it is an etching that is on Scratchboard that is also, I need to drink more water here. It's also a very good explanation, a visual diagram and explanation of how we have the physical form and then these energy centers that surround and penetrate the physical form. So here's a couple of big takeaways for today. So you have your physical body with your epidermis is like the external boundary of your physical body. But from this image, you can clearly see you have a lot of things that extend beyond the mere surface of your epidermis. And what these are even not telling you the whole picture is the best way I can say, because like I just said, this extends beyond just the mere level of your epidermis. I'm not sure if you can see me gesturing here, getting a color. When you, like, let's say you emanate a timeline out for, or a timeline, you're connecting, I should use a better color, hold on. Use the right color, blue, because we're talking about connecting to a particular timeline through the aperture of your inner eye, like we were talking about on level 1. That this is like a sensory organ. So in many, many ways, humanity being cut off from and artificially bifurcated from the higher faculties means that there's been this sensory organ that has been getting information coming into you, the arrow direction comes from elsewhere to you, but also from you to other people. That it has been under-acknowledged that every time you focus your attention, this long tendril, this blue line that I'm making, on something or on someone, that you are connecting to them on an energy bridge. And this is what the level 2 recorded lesson on Teachable is all about. That it's so, for, oh my goodness, in this time and place, a lot of people think with their minds, they're like, I'm just swimming around in my own private kiddie pool and I get to think what I want to think and I'm not connected to anyone else and I'm not affecting anyone else. Blah, ha, 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 ha. You know, I laugh in scorn and derision. No, nothing could be further from the truth. You're actually totally connected to everyone else, and what you think affects other people. So imagine a person who is deaf, who is hearing impaired, and they're just pressing the keys on my piano and they're like, I hear nothing. I'm not doing anything. These are just weird motions that I'm making with my hand and nothing is actually happening. That's because they don't have the sensitivity to be able to actually perceive what is happening as a result of what they're doing. This is like what people in this time and place are doing when they're affecting or interacting with the time field, but they don't have their higher faculties activated, so they cannot perceive the effect they're having. They think, oh, I'm just thinking my own thoughts and I'm not connected to anything else and I'm not making anything happen. La ha ha, you are. You're connected to everything else and you are making things happen. And a lot of the time, it's not nice things. So I use the example, it's kind of like everybody's at a dinner party and you've got, you know, whatever, like here's a crazy dinner table and you've got all of the people up above the surface of the dinner table having a polite conversation. But then down here, like everybody's kicking everybody else, you know, like some guy's kicking you in the shin, some lady's kicking you with her high heels. That what is going on underneath the surface of the dinner table is not actually very nice. And this is human society for many, you know, hundreds or thousands of years. That there's what is going on with the veneer of society, the social veneer of what people say with their words. Then there is the energetic subtext, which can be very harmful, like someone sticking their, you know, high heels into your shin, like very painful stuff. That because people are insensate, they are making music that they can't even hear. They do not take responsibility for the things that they are doing, kicking people in the shins with their high heels underneath the table of society. So this is another thing to becoming a telepathic society, and that's what this, you know, level 2 stuff is basically all about. Once you begin to activate the higher faculties, this area that I'm circling, you know, this stuff over here. First of all, we begin to reclaim our true heritage, being full spectrum humans. And when I say the sophisticated antediluvian worldwide culture, we're talking about ancient Atlantis. So learning like the star tetrahedron and the Merkabah for self-protection and transformation, that's like, oh, here comes Dog Boss. Come on up, girl, come on up. That's like basic stuff. Come on up, Cheeky. Yeah. Aw, there you go. Now we'll get 10,000 views because Cheeky's in the video. Thank you so much. And she also needs a few kisses. Yes. What has been happening with humanity not having awakened higher faculties and not recognizing the activity of their higher faculties means that humanity has not been taking responsibility for their emanation. And so, you know, something, if I am in here and Cheeky's back in her dog bed and I start thinking about her, there's actually a tendril of energy that begins to go from my perception and my thoughts to her, to where she is. And she's living in the same general physical location, same area of space as me, and she's also living in the same time as me. So my tendril only has to go, into the back bedroom. We can use our tendril of attention to touch on anything, anywhere. So sun gazing is what happens when we use the tendril of attention to touch on our nearest star, the sun. But you can also star gaze. You can use your tendril of attention to touch on a star. And whatever, I could say a lot of funny things. Like, when people say that they're an alien or whatever, and they're from another place, they're always from a brand name star. Isn't that so funny? It's always like, oh, like I'm from the Pleiades, or I'm from Sirius, or I'm from something. They're never from, some obscure star that just has a serial number, like, X3297. It's always a name brand place or whatever. And yes, and to make a distinction, like I'm from the stellar network. It's all of the stars connected together, because Pedro is a very insightful member of this class, asked me about that last week, about what my collective is like, because I always make a distinction. We're not the Borg. I'm not from the Borg. You don't have to use technology. And that it is not, I don't come from a particular star. I don't come from a particular, oh, Pedro is here. It's good to see you, man. I don't come from a particular planet that is rotating around a star. All of the stars working together create like a brain that is like a network. And that network is where I originate from. And I'm not the only person that is on that network. I'm one individual, and there's a collective whole. And we can talk about, these levels of individuality, because like when I go to when I use the image in level 1, I'll go back to the screen share. If I can find it, this one over here. Does technology work? I don't know if technology is working for you. I don't know if you can actually see. Can you see what's going on? I don't know if anybody can see it. God, sometimes it's so hard. Anybody, back to my face. That picture that has the indigo chakra with all the different people converging at the center. This begins to be a question of individuality and self-identity. And this is not to give anybody a free pass. Nobody gets a free pass, because lots of people in this time and place, they're like, oh, it ain't my fault. I was possessed by a demon. Something else was coming through me. Give me a chance. Let me go to heaven. It's like, no, you don't get to have a chance, because you let demons come through you. And that means that there's like a basic lack of integrity. You're supposed to have like a nice shield, an impenetrable shield, and instead the impenetrable shield has been penetrated by demonic beings. So that's like, no, there's no structural integrity there. And some people do have structural integrity, and they say, only blah, blah characteristics are the ones that are the real me and may come through this physical structure. So this is very complex, because I'm not advocating for anything to come inside of you other than you. That's what I said in level 1. Like, you shouldn't have to have, it's very warm. That's why boss is going to go find a little cool spot to sit, even though we got the fans going. No one else should come through you except for you. No soi-disant or self-proclaimed higher ascended masters should be using your vocal cords or your body to paint or gesture or anything like that. Not even if they say that they're named Jesus, or if they're named whatever, any of the brand name saviors. They should not be coming through you. That only your own higher self should be coming through you. And your characteristics of like what makes up you, like what is Aurora, what makes up Aurora? It's like a dash of this and a handful of this and a little bit of this. Like, no, the truth is I'm much more than just a set of randomly smushed together personality characteristics. I'm not just like, oh, a dog lover, a rainbow lover, and a girl with long hair. Like, that's not me. I'm a lot more than that. So the way that I understand this is there's an abstraction, abstract presence. That's who I am, who I would be no matter where I was. If I incarnated as a radioactive spider, I'd be Aurora, the radioactive spider. If I incarnate here in this human body, I'm like a rainbow dress wearing long-haired girl person. And if I incarnated in a completely different format, like as a galaxy or as a swarm of, sparks of light, I would express myself through that particular medium. But I don't think that it's fair to say like, oh, a person is just a recipe. Like, that's a very, just moving my chair around and getting comfortable here, a very reductionist, I guess is the word, approach to looking at what a person and what a persona is. You're not just a recipe. Because then the idea is, well, if you're just a recipe, like if Christine is just a recipe, she's just a hint of this and a dash of this and a handful of this, then we can recreate Christine, right? It's that whole idea of being able to clone someone or make a reproduction or a synthetic version of them. And we all know that that's not so easy, because you are a unique individual with your unique fingerprint and you have unique behaviors. So that is the idea of flying rainbow lasagna. that this is not merely it's a dynamic object, not a static object, and that this is one snapshot of it through time, and it changes through time. That it's something that changes and grows and develops over time. It's behavior. Just like as a musician, you start off playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and then one day you're playing complex symphonies. You grew, you changed your behavior. Genes have behavior. So if you're flying rainbow lasagna-ing, it means that you are now engaging in a form of unpredictable genetic behavior that throws a monkey wrench into the control system of humanity. And not only humanity, but all these different places, because there are these beings that use synthetic telepathy, and that they are trying to inject their mind and their persona into the time field and kind of like assert their existence. Like, I'm going to prove that I exist. I'm going to get into that guy's mind and, make him do something, and that will prove that I exist. Like I mentioned, they don't have their own guitars. They smashed their guitars on stage. Now they want to play crappy music. So they're like, I'm looking for one of you that I can play through. But not to give undue attention, connecting all of our tendrils of attention to the evilest beings in the world. I got to talk in equal amount about angelic beings and the idea of our own perfected divine selves. Because we are also connected to that aspect of self through our higher faculties. That's why our higher faculties got closed down, because it's like saying you take yourself away from your guidance system, and then you're blind and lost and stumbling around, and you just go off, driving off cliffs all the time. That is the disempowerment agenda of humanity and of human society. So when one's higher faculties are reactivated, you're no longer blind, you're no longer stumbling around, and you're no longer fooled by the very rapists that came to this planet that said, oh, I will take away your higher faculties, then masquerade as a god. So first I'm going to blind you or blindfold you, and then I'm going to tell you, I am your god, and you're going to listen to me because you don't have your faculties online. So one of the big things is when humanity starts to, as a collective, as a society, reawaken and reconnect to its higher faculties, it starts to recognize, wait a minute, all this stuff that's been taught as religion is totally not truthful, is totally a control system, and is totally distorted. And then to act differently and look at that. But let's also talk about positive characteristics coming together into the convergence of you. The whole idea that I'm not a huge fan of this show called Sense8 that's on Netflix, but it's that idea of having a collective of many different consciousnesses that are either in different times or different places that can all share their talents, that can all share their insights, that can all share their whatever they are good at in order to help one another out. Cell specialization. So in my own body, I have cell specialization, or my tooth cell is different than my heart cell, and they each perform their own job. Or in the cosmic band, there's like one person is the drummer and one person is the singer, and you don't have to drum and sing at the same time, because that is very hard. That's why there's individuality, individuation, and cell specialization. And the same thing can be said of any expertise. Like, you don't have to become an expert cake baker if you can connect telepathically to someone who is an expert cake baker and be like, hey, how do I do this? What do I do? I got to bake a cake. What do I do? But then again, you must take responsibility for everything that you do with your own individual body and body system. If you bake a horrible cake, you can't be like, don't blame me. It ain't my fault. I was taking directions from that guy and they told me to do it and they gave me the recipe. It's like, you chose to do it. So that, like, because you're starting to understand we're in this, sorry, I have a lot of dog hair on my face. We're in this world where there are a lot of people that want to make excuses. And let's say, when I joke about getting into heaven, because a lot of, in many ways, I think of heaven as a virtual reality that is not actually very heavenly. I'm just drinking juice. That it is a world that is like a virtual world that's an imprisonment instead of a world of freedom. So I joke about that, getting into heaven. But let's say real heaven can be a euphoric and divine experience that is a state of mind, and that only people who have integrity, meaning their actions match their heart, get to be in that state of mind. And that people that are constantly making excuses, they're like, I refuse to take responsibility. It ain't my fault. I blame that guy. I blame that thing. I blame whatever. That's like a link of a chain that does not have structural integrity, that you cannot allow to be in the chain. And they essentially keep themselves out of that level of from a mental collective. It's called the stellar network. And people who are inappropriate candidates disqualify themselves. When I pause, sometimes I'm just like, how do I even say those words? Inappropriate candidates disqualify themselves. So it's not even like you have to have a bouncer at the door being like, get out. It's like, shove off. You ain't getting in here. You don't even need that. The inappropriate candidates have a set of personality characteristics and approaches that make them like they can't fit through the door. Like they're shaped in such a way they literally cannot go through the aperture. And in many ways, they're like, I don't want to go through that aperture. That is what I say. They disqualify themselves. So in many ways, they will produce behaviors and other things that make it so that they cannot participate on that level of perception. So blah, blah, blah. What I'm trying to say with this advanced level class, teaching on this class on this day, is that there's a wonderful cosmic dance party that is available to each one of us. And in order to, it's like a telepathic society. It is a galactic civilization, or, you know, it's on the level of the network of stars. It's an enormous, I'm just looking at my time, civilization that is out there. And it's not like they're like saying like, you're not allowed to participate, you're not good enough. It is more like, in order to participate, it's not just a question of being good enough, it's a question of being shaped in the right way to be able to go through that aperture and have that experience and exhibit the correct characteristics that are supposed to be there. Like you've been refined to the point of being supposed to be there. So some of my paintings that I show, you know, there's that central telepathy, and then there's other beings converging into that telepathy. But that doesn't mean you're not you. You're still you. So this is my experience of being in the collective of stellar consciousnesses. I'm still myself. I'm still Aurora, or the being that came here and individuated as Aurora. And I don't lose any of that. I don't have a totalitarian overlord that says, you need to do this for the collective. Like you were, like, you know, in the army, like you're going to all walk together. You're going to wear like a uniform. You're all going to fit in together. It's not like that. It's more like being in a band where it's like, I have cultivated myself and refined myself to the levels of being a virtuoso musician. And then I'm supposed to play my music in that band, listening to my own inner connection to the music of the cosmos. And the best earthly example that I have of this, or the best earthly anecdote, you know, using like a little example or whatever. So Herbie Hancock, he's a really good musician. And he, at this point, like he is, you know, whatever, in his later years. But this story comes from when he was just an up-and-coming musician. And he's a really, really good piano player. And he was playing with Miles Davis's band. And Miles Davis, so Herbie Hancock was really young. And Miles Davis was older and was already well-established as a jazz musician. And he was like the band leader. And he asked Herbie Hancock to play with him. Miles played, he's like, Herbie, come play with me. And Herbie Hancock was kind of like intimidated, because this is like an older musician who had already achieved, established himself and achieved notoriety. And he asked Miles Davis, like, what am I supposed to play? And Miles Davis said, play your piano. And that is what I'm trying to talk about. It's like saying, he, as a band leader, Miles Davis as a band leader, did not say, play, you know, an A, play a C, you know, play whatever, a particular note. He didn't say, play a particular melody. He basically said, like, hey, like, you auditioned, you're good enough to be in the band, you're a virtuoso piano player, play your instrument, figure it out. You have all of that potential inside of you. You know what to play. That's what the collective is like. It's the advanced jazz band. No one else tells you what to play. You cannot ask someone else, like, what note am I supposed to play? Like, what beat am I supposed to play? Like, you have that inner directive that tells you what to play. So this is all because, I don't know if I'm tying this all together enough to telepathy. When you're talking telepathically to other minds all the time, you have to make a clear distinction about who is the real you and who is really speaking in your mind and who is really speaking and acting through your body. And it takes a lot of inner self-integrity to say, this is who I am and this is who I'm not. This is the way that I act. This is the way I choose not to act. These people might be speaking to me or I might be connected to them, but they don't control and direct my behavior. I assert my own individuality. And at the same time that I'm being an individual, I mesh effectively with the other musicians that are also playing in the band, and this is how we make music that is called the symphony of life. Like, that's it. Your microbes are supposed to play their own music, and your teeth cells are supposed to play their own music, and everybody's supposed to know what the heck they are doing. And this is, it's a unimaginable, it's certainly not the model of Judeo-Christianity, where there is, like an external authority figure or a person, either a king or a priest or a God, that tells you, or a Jesus or, a Jehovah or whatever, that tells you that you listen to me, I'm doing this, you're supposed to listen to me. And, the whole idea of the what I was talking about in level 1, the distorted myth of a Jesus man that was like a container for God, and that the God would say, like, okay, now I want you to kill your container for me. It's like, like, what God would ask that? And also how inappropriate. And then you got to take responsibility. If you're like, well, like, this guy smashed his guitar on stage, and then he said that he wanted me to smash my guitar on stage, so I did it. It's like, that's like that. You got to take responsibility for that. That's not, so yeah, I'm not an advocate for that, and I'm not making fun of that, even though sometimes I present it in a lighthearted way. But wait, don't want to miss this. Van says a radioactive name brand spider. He's joking about what I was saying before about Aurora. If I came through the filter of a radioactive spider, what would it be like? And that would be very interesting. Yes, I'm sure it would be very interesting. I don't know, I've never done it. We'll have to see. And Joelle says, I've noticed too, I've been having a lot of disturbing dreams that don't feel like me at all. This is what, so now I'll just speak very openly about this. This is what the challenge that we are facing as individuals and as a human collective right now in terms of our development, because we're on that cusp of all having this wonderful awakening. Some awaken earlier than others, the higher faculties. I need to drink more water. This is like what I said about early development in childhood. Everybody is beautiful and special. Some people learn to walk earlier than others. Some people learn to read earlier than others. So in this time and place, some people have already awakened their higher faculties, and they're already seeing and they're already experiencing all of these things. And some people have not yet awakened. And the beings that are using synthetic telepathy, they've had an artificially and prematurely augmented awakening. That's the big thing when I joke about their fake boobs. It's like, what if you like implanted, false augmented breasts in like a little 4-year-old? Like, that is not even a sexually mature adult. That's not even supposed to have boobs. Why is that person have that? A lot of these consciousnesses, a lot of these people that are using synthetic telepathy are not mature and developed enough to even have those assets at that level. They should not be on the telepathic network, yet they are. So this is the challenge. You want to play your own music, connected only to your own divine self, and expressing it harmoniously with other musicians who do the same thing. But we've got some really bad musicians that are stinking up the joint. They sound terrible and they're amplified. That is what's going on. So don't worry. Wait, let me drink water also. What's the solution? Because if I explain in excruciating detail the challenge, then I also want to bring up the solution. So a big part of it is Merkabah. So I've been doing Merkabah so much. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I get attacked and targeted a lot. So I do it around individual body parts. I do it around my entirety of my body, like around my whole body, around body part if I feel it's being attacked, around my house, around my digital presence. That's a big one, because I don't think everyone understands. Like, if someone has a video of you or a picture of you, it is a portal to you. Just like if you have your attention connecting to someone else, you are literally creating a bridge between yourself and someone else. So then, yeah, if you're reading a book about Napoleon, you are creating a bridge between your own attention and the life of Napoleon. So through our digital presences online, especially if you are creating videos or doing anything like what I do, it makes it possible for other people to create a bridge to you. And it's necessary to create a shield so that you only have cool people connecting to you and not a bunch of stupid jerk faces connecting to you. So Merkabah, 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 in order to protect yourself from that. And definitely in terms of going to sleep, because when you go to sleep and you're relaxing your willpower to some extent, then it's like, oh, perfect, you've relaxed your willpower. Now it's time for me to inject myself into it. It's like, no, that's not what we want. And that's when I say that they are infants of consciousness, or they are not yet developed enough. Once you start to get to higher levels of development and you've done the work, you don't want to cross boundaries. You don't want to be an unwelcome guest. I don't want to be an unwelcome guest in anybody's mind. I don't want to be mind raping them. That's horrible. I would be whatever, shocked and horrified. I'd be appalled. I clutch my pearls. I'm appalled. Yeah, no, I would never want to invade someone else. It's like, if you're like, whatever, it's like if you're a real gentleman, like you would never want to, whatever, hurt someone else. Or like whatever. I'm just thinking, so I know some dogs that are very beautiful, like they're big giant pit bulls, but they're super gentle. They would never bite. They're not aggressive. They're not horrible. So yeah, the whole idea of aggressing into someone else's mind is not appealing to me at all. So that's the whole idea. Like you go through this whole journey of inner development and self-cultivation and reaching these levels of love. And then you earn access to your higher faculties that allow you to talk to other people on the telepathic network. And there's not supposed to be any stupid jerk faces up there. Because of synthetic telepathy, there are many stupid jerk faces up there. So it is necessary to have an immune system and protect yourself, and maybe even blockade or block them out if they are really trying to aggress. Like if burglars are trying to come into your house, like get your shotgun. Not that I'm, like so much of an advocate of violence, but it's like, get your shotgun, chick, and then you say like, you better not be trying to come in here. I'm armed. It's that attitude, that sense of like, you don't have to be a doormat or a victim or let anyone come inside. So, I've taught Cheeky, my little dog, I've taught her how to do the Merkabah. Aurora, how can you teach a dog how to do a Merkabah? I talk to her telepathically. I don't use the English language in order to connect to an animal or to another person. Really, I don't use verbal language. So this is a big one. So in level 1, I was talking about what is inner perception. When I really see through here, what is it like? There's no narrator. There is no narrator that says, this is the torus. This is my voice describing the torus to you. And this is a circle. And this is a vortex. It doesn't, it's seeing it all at once and grasping it and understanding it with insight all at once. So when I telepathically connect with other humans, what I'm doing is connecting on a level beyond words. And it's the same level that we can use to connect with dogs or cats or blue whales or redwood trees or microbes. So yeah, you can connect with your animals and pets, and you can teach them how to do the Merkabah for themselves. Because, Cheeky goes into these dog parks or whatever, and she goes off leash and she's going to go play with other dogs. She's got to have a little shield of protection. So I'm like her mom, I protect her, I put a little shield around her, but I've started teaching her how to do it herself because she's really little. And some other dogs might be like, I'm going to get that little dog, and she needs to have her Merkabah up around her. So yes, guess what? You can talk to the planet or have an interaction with a planetary-sized consciousness. And you don't actually have to teach the planet how to do the Merkabah. She already knows. But let's say you can add to the planetary Merkabah by, giving good energy to it. And that's how I think of it when I, spin Cheeky's Merkabah, when I put a shield around her. I'm adding to her own natural defenses, because that's what it is. It is the sense of having a strong energetic boundary that says, no one's allowed to F with me. And each one of us has this, and we're supposed to have it. A huge distortion of New Age teachings or spiritual teachings would be that idea that you're not allowed to do that. Like, we're having clear boundaries is a sign that you are a healed and appropriate person. Like, you're supposed to have appropriate boundaries. You're supposed to be able to say, hey, this is my skin, this is my body, you're not allowed to come inside of me. Only welcome guests are allowed to come inside of me. Only welcome guests are allowed to come into my house. Only welcome guests are allowed to come into my mind. This is very big. I will not pretend that my experience here on Earth has been a pleasure cruise. It hasn't been. The stupid jerk faces try to come into my mind all the time. It is hugely, it's perturbing, it's disgusting, it's wrong. Like, even the fact that they exist is gross and disgusting and wrong. It's like, it's like when someone exposes themselves to you on the subway, like, one of those flasher or whatever, and flashes himself. Like, that's gross. Like, I don't want that. I don't want anything to have to do with that. But that is what they're doing. So Joelle says, oh, wait. Okay. Joelle says, that's so awesome. I send my cat feelings and pictures all the time. And she responds, cats are incredibly wise, sophisticated, wonderful consciousnesses. And Joelle goes on, is the Merkabah something we already have, like the Taurus electromagnetic field? So we are strengthening that, strengthening our natural abilities. Yes, the answer is a big fat yes. So it is exactly like, it's like saying you already have an immune system, and you can do visualizations, that help your immune system to work even better because of the way that you are envisioning it and encouraging it to work. But even if you never thought about it, like it's there, it's just, it's a lot better if you do it consciously. That is what the Merkabah is. It is a conscious presentation of energetic boundaries. And this is necessary to do because there's tons and tons of energetic pathogens or parasites that are trying to get inside of us. And it's not cool, it's not okay, it's not the way that the system was actually created. The system was subverted, but we now have a world with fleas. So I have to put flea medicine on my dog so she doesn't get fleas all over her and all over me, because that happened with my cat up in Humboldt County and it was just a nightmare. So don't even let the fleas get on you. Have a shield to keep them off of you. And Pedro says, is it the same if I put a Merkabah on a thing, person, or the planet? And I've put it on each molecule, atom, and photon. So what I would say, and it's a beautiful question, if you put Merkabah just around like the whole planet, like imagine here's a ball and then we're just going to put a big giant Merkabah around it, that is good enough. That is totally effective. But let's say that you want to make the scale even more perfect. It's just like one of those computer programs that is a fractal. Like you can zoom out and see the entire thing, or you can zoom in and then you can see all these little tiny details that are in there. You can, if you want to, like you can be like, I put a, like in your own body, you can say Merkabah around the whole body. I do a Merkabah around each individual cell. So theoretically, a full body Merkabah would be enough to protect you from some cellular disease or injury. But let's say there's a particular body part, like, oh, I really want to protect the cells on this shoulder from any whatever that's going on. Let's put a Merkabah around that shoulder. Let's put a Merkabah around that tooth. Let's put a Merkabah around that eyeball, whatever it is. So yeah, so you can't go overboard with it. So I do it around each of my individual cell structures. I do it a lot around my neurology because, you know, I'm very open about this. I'm dealing with seizures or with epilepsy and, you know, different brain artifacts, trauma or whatever. Hold on one second. So I'll put a Merkabah around my whole head, like no one's gonna attack my whole head, and I'll also do it around specific areas of my brain. I also do a lot of Merkabah around my throat because the communication center is here at our throat. And if you have intrusive voices, like from those synthetic telepathy users, the artificially augmented jerk faces that talk to you without an invitation and go against boundaries, they're coming in through communication. It's like having a phone. They can't call you if you don't have a phone, but you should have a phone. You should be able to be connected and not merely be harmed through that, because that's how it's like one of your birthrights. Like you should be able to speak to others and also listen, have others speak to you. So you shouldn't just have to cut that off completely just because someone else out there is a jerk face. So my answer is a big fat Merkabah right around here. Keep blocking out the jerk faces and letting in the people that I actually do want to talk with. So I'll tell you a little bit about my experience also. And there's one more question with Flying Rainbow. One more question, but I want to tell you about when I do Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And we're gonna, it's early in the semester, but don't worry, we're going to learn about exactly how to do the dance. When I do the actual dance, I feel like I'm connecting with many other people, some of whom might be ancient indigenous people, some of whom might be modern indigenous people, some of whom might be people in this very class. I connect with you guys all the time. And it is all done through appropriate boundaries. Like I never wish to go inside of anybody's mind or body if I'm not welcome there. That would be the ultimate, like I'm not a party crasher. And I think that that's the ultimate, you know, uncoolness. Like I'm very cool. I'm like, yeah, I want to be cool. I want to be cool. I want to be invited, accepted, and celebrated. I don't want to be like, oh no, Aurora's here. Like that's the worst. You know, it's like if you show up to somebody's house and you just kind of like walk on in the front door and be like, hi guys, I'm here. And they're like, oh no, Aurora's here. It's like, that is not a good greeting. That is not how you become a welcome guest. And please look at it from my perspective. I'm a cosmic visitor from another world and I come to this planet. Like I'm very, very sensitive of the need to have appropriate social interactions with an invitation. You know, when I go walking with Cheeky, she's really cute and really friendly. And she will just go right up to anybody's front door. Like we walk on all these little streets here and be like, they're cooking tortillas. Like that smells good. I want to just go right in there and have some breakfast. And I'm like, no, you have to have an invitation. But she's like so cute that like when we walk on the beach and people are doing their little grills or whatever, she just looks at them and she's like, and they'll be like, oh, like I'll give your dog some chicken. I'm like, no, because we don't want to do that. We don't want to go down that road. But I'm talking like, you got to be, I tell Cheeky all the time, you got to be a welcome guest. You got to be invited. You can't just invite yourself on over. So I'm very, very sensitive to the need for being personally appropriate and culturally appropriate here in this world. And that's why I don't force people to do the flying rainbow lasagna. I don't say to anyone like, I'm here and you're going to dance like a flying rainbow lasagna, whether you like it or not. Like some mom that's going to make you like eat your broccoli vegetables or something. Like, I'm not that way. I'm like this. I'm like, hey guys, I'm like, hey, I'm dancing like flying rainbow lasagna over here. Like, this is super fun. I got the cosmic dance party going. You're invited. You're invited on board. You're invited to participate with me. Of course, and you have to be cool and you have to be socially appropriate too. That's my approach to doing all of this. So yeah, I'm a welcome guest here, and I would want other people to be welcome guests in my lasagna cosmic dance party. So when I do the actual dance, I'm focusing on my body, and I'm focusing on my music that I'm emanating out there, and I'm focusing on the perfection of my own form and the things that I'm making and doing. And I'm also feeling and sensing other people around me. I'm like, hey, I feel that person and they're doing their thing, and I feel that person and they're doing their thing. And this is the beginning of a telepathic experience where we are all connecting our minds on a bridge of love. This is the big takeaway, and I'm almost done with my level of recording here. A real telepathy is done on a bridge of love, and it requires, so first of all, you have to get the gas in your car through inner mindfulness and meditation. Like if you can't do the mindfulness and meditation, and you haven't passed the prerequisites, can't get into advanced jazz band. You have to, go to regular jazz band and learn how to play your instrument better. Like you have to be able to still your mind, because here's the next level. Like first we're creating as individuals. I'm playing the guitar. I'm in my own garage. I'm playing my own music. Then I find the other cool musicians and we start to jam together, and we all create reality together. That's it. So if some other musician is not a good musician, or if they've got evil beings that are living through them like some kind of puppet masters, they should not be in the band. They're going to create a crappy reality. This is the whole point. We don't want to create a crappy reality. We are using our minds to create reality. The paintbrush of your mind to paint reality. You want to paint a beautiful reality. You don't want to have any hijackers or residue, consciousness residue inside of your own body, inadvertently making things that you don't really want to make, and farting up the joint and messing up the music that everyone else is trying to make. So wait, okay, so this is a really good question. Joel asks, can the Merkabah be used to protect against Wi-Fi EMF disease? Awesome question, and the answer is yes. So, I use shungite a lot. That's why I drink out of this black heavy cup here. This is shungite, and I have a shungite tile that I put on top of my 5G router. So those are physical things that can be done. You can also do non-physical things where you envision a Merkabah protection around your router or around your computer. So I will tell you part of my practice, because I sit in front of computers to do things like this and to work on social media and other things like that. And I do social media because it's a way of connecting lasagna to people. I put a Merkabah around the whole thing. I put a Merkabah like between myself and the screen, so so that radiation doesn't come into me too much, around the actual videos that I send out, around the words that I send out, so that things won't be misinterpreted, or that they won't be taken in a harmful way, that they will be sent out like good lasagna food. Like the answer is yes. Like you can, oh my goodness, you can put a Merkabah around 5G towers, even though like, let's do something more physical than just putting a Merkabah around them. But yes, you can put a Merkabah around anything. And the best description that I have when you use a Merkabah in that way is that it makes for the best possible outcome. So one of the examples that I used in the past was, this is like many months ago at this point, but I'm not a vegetarian and I eat bacon. And I was cooking the bacon, and then, you got to pour off the bacon grease like into a jar or something like that so that it doesn't go down the drain. And I have a jar that I keep like under the sink to do this. So I had taken it out and put it in like the middle of the countertop, in order to pour out this hot bacon grease into the jar. And I didn't know the jar had a crack in it. And when I poured the grease out and then I went to go pick it up and like put it someplace safe, and the whole thing like went everywhere. Like the jar, just it cracked, and the hot grease went everywhere except on me. It went everywhere except on me. Totally covered like the entire window and everything, like you know, all the stuff that you keep kind of like around the sink and all the dishes and sponges and everything. I had to do a lot of cleanup, but I was not horribly burned. That means that the bad thing happened. The jar broke and the grease went everywhere. But the very worst thing that happened was I had to spend a little bit of time and use some soap and paper towels, and then it got cleaned up. That's not that bad. So putting a Merkabah around an event or a thing or something that's not so great can mean that the best of all possibilities happen, even if it's not such a great thing that happens. So, you know, an example would be like, let's say you get a flat tire, but it happens to be in your driveway when right at the same time that your friend is home who has a tire jack, and like, you know, you get your friend to help you, and then you go to get a replacement tire and it's like on sale for $5 at the replacement tire place. Like, that's the best of all possible outcomes. So it's not hugely disruptive to your life. It's certainly not fatal. It's not something that really harmed you. It's a minor bump in the road. So if we say, okay, we're going to put a Merkabah around Wi-Fi or around 5G or around something like that, it means, okay, we recognize the radiation is there. It's like the bacon grease is there, but it's not burning you. It's not coming inside of you. It's the best of all possible realities where you are able to surf the reality waves, you know, surf the events of reality without having too much personal blowback harming you. So that was one of the first questions. The next question was from SJ, Sarah Jane. She says, my 16-year-old nephew, let me just drink water too, found out that he has epilepsy. Do you have any words of Aurora wisdom about living with epilepsy? Absolutely. So wait, let me drink. So one of the big things for me was diet. And I didn't because I first came here as a human being, I didn't even understand about food, and I didn't understand about the vagaries of food. I didn't even understand about junk food and things that are being sold as food substances that should not even be in you know, people's tummies at all. So, you know, when I first came here, I just when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I ate and I drank and smoked tobacco. I drank coffee, I smoked tobacco, I ate sugar, I ate flour, I ate pizza all the time. Like, you know, like whatever, like living in New York and New Jersey, there's a lot of pizza places around there. And then what happened was I had to not only, you know, I started to take medicines to control it. So I'm a huge advocate for, where's my juice? Raw cannabis juice. That is a big part of my regimen. And even if you cannot grow your own garden and have raw cannabis juice, you can get tinctures of either CBD or THCA. It's going to have my tinctures right over there too. That there are ways of taking cannabis in non-psychoactive amounts. So, because if it's a young person or like, I mean, whatever, like I'm not like a child, but I like to take this non-psychoactive cannabis so that I am functional and clear-headed. And I, you know, because that's why I didn't like pharmaceuticals, because they made me non-functional and zombified. So yeah, I like to be clear-headed and happy and active throughout my day, as opposed to, you know, couch-ridden and zombified. So before I get into cannabis medicine as a way, I use that now exclusively. I don't have to use pharmaceuticals to manage the condition. But so part of it was access to CBD medicine and raw juicing and all of that. But the other thing was not eating a lot of things that are normal in this society. I had to stop eating sugar because I had to learn that sugar and carbohydrates leave like a residue in your brain. So I'm not fully ketogenic. Some people are on this diet that's called ketogenic, where you eat extremely low amounts of carbohydrate that makes your body do ketosis, and high amounts of fat and protein. I'm not fully ketogenic, but what I do is a low glycemic diet that works for me. That's why I tell people I'm not vegetarian and I eat bacon. Like I get good bacon that is humanely raised and only fed, you know, non-GMO ingredients and everything like that. But no, I eat meat actually several times a day, and I do it because it helps with regulating blood sugar. So the problem with sugar and carbohydrates is that they give an immediate spike of energy, and that affects intracranial blood pressure and also other aspects of like neurological functioning, like it ramps up your brain, and then it leaves a residue behind that can also cause excessive firing like if you have dust inside of your computer as a residue, that it can make short circuits happen. So the initial soar and crash, you know, sugar high up and down is not that good for people with epilepsy. And also it leaves behind a residue that's kind of like dust in your hard drive that can cause short circuits. So I don't eat stuff like bread and pasta and rice, and definitely not sugar. And that means that I make pretty much all of my own food because sugar is in almost everything. And also I don't eat stevia because it's another one of these neurotransmitter things. I don't eat MSG and a lot of other chemicals. So it's like basically I had to learn all about cooking and all about how to make my own food and what works for me in terms of my diet. So not eating sugar was a big one, and having access to medical cannabis was the other big one. And I now have a wonderful quality of existence that I wouldn't have had. And the big takeaway for your nephew in your family, like I had to not just trust doctors because doctors don't know about this stuff. No doctor said to me like, hey, Aurora, you should, you know, stop eating rice and, you know, only eat cauliflower instead, like, you know, riced cauliflower. Like no doctor is going to tell you that. You got to self-educate as a patient and also advocate for yourself as a patient. You have to, like, if you go to a doctor's appointment or whatever, be educated and know about different things. Because I also learned, like, doctors will prescribe things totally not caring about the side effects that it does to you and what it actually does to your brain and to your life. They just hand out pills and they totally don't care. All right. At least in my experience, the doctors that I went with. So if you want to have a good quality of life, it is necessary to advocate for yourself. And that was, I've got a bug in here. That was what I did with medical cannabis. That no doctor said to me, like, first of all, like, stop eating carbohydrates and also move to California and grow your own garden and drink raw cannabis juice. No doctor said that. I had to educate myself and then advocate for myself as a patient to be able to do that. And yeah, so now what I do is try to talk to other patients and get them to understand that you can vastly improve symptoms by changing the food that you eat and also, having access to THCA or CBD or CBDA. So those are the best things that I can possibly say. And yeah, you can have a very good life. So, I mean, there are only a few things that I don't do. Like I'm not going to go scuba diving, nothing that puts a lot of pressure on your brain. I'm not going to miss that or whatever. I don't want to go scuba diving. I'm not going to jump out of any planes. I'm not going to do stuff like that. And I still have a wonderful, good life. Brandon says, you always inspire me to clean up in case you visit. That's right. Because if I'm going to like visit on over telepathically, I want to make sure the place is looking organized and that you don't have any dust bunnies or anything like that. That's so funny. No, don't worry, Brandon. I will always give a little knock before I come on over to visit telepathically so that you got a chance to like get clean up. Like you got dirty dishes or whatever we're just joking mentally, like you would have mental dirty dishes. So yeah, don't worry. I'll give you a chance to clean up if it's not a good time. That's actually part of being a polite telepath. It's not always a good time. You know, you might be like, hey, knock, 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 can I talk to you? It's not a good time. I might be sitting on the toilet. Like, that's not a good time to talk with me telepathically. Talk with me in 5 minutes, okay? Like, that's sometimes truthful. And Jen says, how often do you have to do that? Is one time enough? In terms of, I think you were asking about the Merkabah. Just want a confirmation. So that's a good question about Merkabah. I do Merkabah protections all the time, and I keep them spinning all the time if they lose momentum. They kind of remind me of like whatever, like anything that you have to kind of keep spinning. It's like, oh, that one's slowing down. Spin it up, get it going. Like, you know, this sculpture that I'm pointing to over here, you can kind of spin it around. Any kind of gear or wheel like that. Yeah, it loses momentum. And that's because we're in this world with friction and the synthetic telepaths and all of that. So unfortunately, or fortunately, it's not just like, oh, I did a Merkabah on that 12 years ago and it's fine. Like, do it again. It's like cleaning the floor, you know, like it gets dirty. You're going to have to do it again, but it's not meant to be a constant chore, but it is right now. Pedro says, I avoid artificial sweeteners good and use only natural, not the white refined one, prefer the brown one. But what about sweet fruits? Is that sugar bad too? So because I'm not ketogenic, but I'm low glycemic. So if I want to eat something like a fruit smoothie, so first of all, if I'm going to eat a bunch of fruit, I have to pair it with a protein. So for example, in the morning, I go out for a walk with my little dog Cheeky and I bring along beef jerky, you know, we both share it together, and I bring along some dried mango. So if I'm eating dried mango, I got to have the beef jerky at the same time to kind of balance out. So it's not just super rocket fuel for my brain. So if I'm going to make a smoothie that's got fruits in it, I'm going to put in there coconut milk and coconut oil and hemp seed and some fat or protein. It can be like almond butter, like something like that, so that it's not just pure fruit. And I might eat that with a piece of chicken, or I mean, I do weird things. I eat chicken for breakfast because I need that. So I'll have, scrambled eggs with something that I'm having that has sugar in it. So that is, and I had to learn this over many years of trial and error, that there's a way for me to eat carbohydrates, but not have it be super rocket fuel that kind of, sets my brain on edge. And I can definitely tell, even with my treats, that like I will make things for myself that have honey, something that might be, here's a good fake chocolate pudding, is avocado mashed up with cocoa powder and honey. And you put it in the blender and it kind of makes in like chocolate pudding. You put it into little cups. It's really, really good. It's good. It's good for you. But I can tell, like, I can eat a certain amount of it and I'm fine. But if I eat too much of it, then I'm like, okay, like this is starting to, I can feel it overloading my brain. And then it's like, either I need to like go out and do a lot of physical exercise. Like it's the only time when it's appropriate for me to eat a lot of sugary thing. If I'm like, just about to walk many miles, or if I'm just coming back from walking many miles, and that's fine. But if I'm just sitting around and I eat a giant amount of sugar like that, then my body is like, it's like full of energy. And then what do I do with all that energy? So yeah, so each person has to learn their own body. And there are some fruits that are more sweet and have a higher sugar content available, and some fruits that have less. And it's different if you eat the whole fruit than if you have it as a juice. Like a juice goes directly into your body, and fruit takes a little bit longer to go into your body. So it really all depends on the way you're doing it. Everybody's got to figure it out for themselves. And Sarah Jane says, thank you, Aurora. That's very helpful information. I appreciate you back. She says, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you right back. Thank you very much. And Joel says, just to make it clear, which way does the top versus the bottom in the Merkabah tetrahedron spin? So, okay, you're looking at me with the camera. This is my right hand that I'm waving right now. I'm a female. I envision the one that is sticking out from my chest, spinning around in this direction. To me, that's to my left. And I envision the one that is sticking out from behind the back of my spine, spinning around to the right. And at this point, it's just like if you're good at tying your shoes. You can tie your shoes this fast. Like when you first learn, you're like over, under, down the hole. You got to like really, really focus. So when I first started doing Merkabah, I had to really sit, I had to really focus, I had to really envision it. And now I'm so good at tying my shoes, I do it this fast. It's just like, I do it, shields up. And I also do it if I feel anyone scanning me. And what it feels like when you're being scanned is like being checked out. If you're a woman, and well, I guess guys get checked out too, but it's definitely something that happens to females. Like, you're walking down the street and you can kind of feel like someone's ogling you, and you look around, you're like, okay, who's checking me out? Because it's a scan. Someone's doing like a body scan. They're attaching their attention to you, and you can feel it. And so part of the awakening of higher faculties is moving beyond the idea of what is socially appropriate. Like I told you in that example, I don't remember if it was this lesson or the previous level, the dinner table. Everyone up above the dinner table, where their faces are, is being very prim and proper, but underneath the dinner table, everybody is kicking everybody else. People take liberties in the realm of the psychic realm, not understanding that you can actually feel them. So yeah, I can actually feel it when people are scanning me, or when they are ogling me, or when they are inappropriately projecting sexuality upon me, when it is not consensual, when it is not mutual. And so I'm like, oh, shields up. As soon as I feel that unwelcome sexual attention, shields up. And then I look around and I'm like, who is scanning me? And yeah, because that's inappropriate. And people do that because they think that no one knows they're doing it. It's like, oh, like, it's like if you have x-ray vision, you're going to use it to look through somebody's bra. Like, you think they don't know, they know that you're doing it. So yeah, so I have my shields up so no one is trying to basically go beyond boundaries and do things that are inappropriate under the guise of not being perceived. We're moving into this telepathic society where now it's all perceived. And this is also, I'll do a whole teaching, because I didn't have enough time left today, about dark magic. Dark magic is basically inappropriately going across boundaries and using it to either surveil someone else, like I'm going to look into your mind, I'm going to find out your deepest, darkest secrets and use them to control or manipulate or blackmail you, or any of the things, any of this, like looking at someone in a sexually compromised position, voyeurism. That's a big one. These people with the synthetic telepathy, they're huge voyeurs, and it's disgusting. Like, you should have privacy in the shower. You should have privacy on the toilet. I never visit people in the shower. Someone comes and knocks on your door when you're in the shower, like, it's not me, all right? Like, seriously. Yeah, it's inappropriate behavior, and it's also very juvenile. it shows a basic lack of emotional maturity on people that would do that. If you had X-ray vision, would you use it to like look at underneath ladies' dresses, or would you use it for something that really matters? And so that, you know, that's big. Joelle says left female triangle, right male triangle. Got it. That really helps. Good. And the other caveat is that I'm a female, so I spin my Merkabah in this way. However, people that have a different gender might feel more comfortable doing it in the opposite direction. So hold your paintbrush. Do you hold your paintbrush like this with your pinkies up, or do you hold your paintbrush like this? It all depends on who you are as an individual. And I would say, or like if you're a snowboarder, do you do left foot going first, do right foot going first? Figure out what works for you and what feels the most comfortable. That's the type of teacher that I am. I'm not just trying to be coy. I'm really recognizing that everybody has an individual experience. So I can only tell you this is the way that I do it. And then, you know, everybody do it in the way that works best for them. And like, cause we did a little bit of talking today about, you know, some of my personal habits, even though I don't tell other people what to do with their lives. But someone asked me, a friend asked me privately in email, she was like, Aurora, like you've got a lot of arm muscles. Do you do a lot of exercise? And the truth is, you know, here where I don't go to a gym, I don't have to. What I do is flying rainbow lasagna dancing every day. And it is a very vigorous dancing, even though I do it sitting down in a chair, because remember, I'm using my legs also and my feet to push and pull the levers of the cosmos. But I'm trying to say, if you're perceiving that, you know, that I have strong arms and that I have strong muscles, I earned my muscles by doing flying rainbow lasagna, which is literally like pushing and pulling the levers of the cosmos. I'm not just waving my arms around doing nothing. This is what I'm trying to say, because I was trying to think about like, how can I effectively share this with people? It's the idea that it's not just an imagination, and it's not just a mental exercise, and it's also not something that is random or arbitrary, that it's dancing on a cellular level and dancing on a physical level, and it actually has an impact on my physical body beyond merely doing movements that would not have that, like I'm saying, like if I were just waving my arms around in the air willy-nilly, that would not be an effective workout. But because what I'm doing is literally connecting energetically to the other aspects of the time field and moving and push, there's resistance, there's pushing and pulling and everything like that. It's a whole workout. And that's why I eat chocolate pudding in order to feed my body for the whole workout. So yeah, that's one of the things that I will do is eat chocolate pudding right before I dance like a flying rainbow lasagna, because it takes a lot of physical energy and it also takes a lot of solar energy. So that's why I'm happy when I have really good sunlight here. I know I'm getting all of it takes a lot of energy in order to be able to do this, but I'm happy to do it. Okay, and so Joelle, just on the question of Merkabah, she says, okay, so maybe let them spin the way that feels right, because basically when I do the Merkabah, I do feel them automatically wanting to spin a certain way. Do it in the way that feels right, because this is all about, if you want to make music, do it in the way that makes the music sound right. Like, don't worry so much, like, are my hands properly positioned on the keys? Go by whether the music sounds right. So go by whether it feels right. Jen says, remember being little and being challenged to pat the head and rub the tummy at the same time. Thinking about it now, it seems like a bad little trick. That's one of those things. It is a type of coordination, gets better the more that you do it. Pedro says, I hardly move my hands when I FRL. Everybody has their own way of doing it. So again, I'm not being coy if I don't have a video of myself doing it or whatever. I consider it to be an intimate act, and you know, something that I only want to share with people that are real friends, like in the right setting, not in any way that is exploitive. So I look forward to being able to have an opportunity to do like a real flying rainbow lasagna workshop where I can do it for people or perform it in a way that is positive and that won't ever be misinterpreted as, you know, whatever. It's not sexy. I mean, it's not intended to be, what's the word? Sexual demonstration. That a lot of what is done in this time and place is very distorted, and it is all about people displaying their sexuality even in a very young age in a way that is inappropriate. And this dance is not about trying to catch a boyfriend. It is not about that. It is about making love to the cosmos. So perhaps on that note, I'll end. There's one more thing. Yeah. Oh no, I understand what you're talking about, Jen. She's saying that patting your head and rubbing your tummy. So yeah, some dances are antithetical to the happy functioning of our chakra systems. Yes, you totally get it. I don't do every socially accepted dance because I don't like the way all of them work for my body. I do the dance that feels right to me. So each person's flying rainbow lasagna dance should be a comfortable expression of their own skeletal and muscular structure, and should lead them to greater levels of personal, like physical prowess. It makes you healthier and more fit to do this dance. Just like whatever, doing a ballet. Even though, you know what I don't like about ballet? That I think that it squashes the ballerina's feet so much in order to be able to do that. And with the flying rainbow lasagna dance, I'm often spreading my toes as far apart as I possibly can, because you want to be able to work the levers of the cosmos. So I think that in many ways, that idea of having to constrain and point your toes all the time, and it hurts the feet a lot. I think that's not a healthy aspect of dance. So yeah, that's why I don't do that. So I do the dance that fits, that works for me. Jen says, shields up. I totally get it now. So thankful it flows from there. That's exactly right. And like I say, in the Atlantis world, this was like one of the primary lessons. The first thing you learn, Merkabah, shields up, how to do this. And that's just like when you're a little baby and you begin to develop an immune system, so that you don't just get every single pathogenic virus and cold that's out there, so that you can be healthy as a person. So that's a big part of it. So I definitely need to end the recording for right now, but thank you so much. Excellent questions, excellent interactions, and I appreciate everyone who's in this class. Thank you very much.